Okay, Jerry, I can see you. Can you hear me? So, can you hear me? Okay, Jerry, I can see you.
Our friends and
so you can actually go to my YouTube channel and watch this live. If you have an issue with your network, you could just go to the YouTube channel and watch live. It depends on which one goes well for you. I've tried to connect YouTube and the Zoom. So you just decide which one works well for you, and then we will take it up from there. Good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Yes, ma. We're trying to experiment on something today. Trying to use YouTube and Zoom. So we'll have a few classes. The idea is to test how effective this technology would work for us.
Zoom and YouTube usually work. Zoom and YouTube or Zoom and Facebook.
YouTube, it's already on YouTube. It's already on YouTube. It's running already on YouTube. I'm using my phone to confirm that now.
We do Zoom and YouTube, Zoom and Facebook, so that's good.
Okay. So I'm waiting for my students to join. Okay. Hepzibah, how are you?
I'm
Hepzibah,
fine.
how are you?
Good evening.
All right. Okay. Good evening. Right. I'm correct. That's a part of things I want to see. Since it's a test transmission, some of the observations from today, we'll be able to note them and correct them. We'll be able to correct them. But I'm waiting for other students to join in so we can start the class. Okay, that's Kenneth joining, I think. Who is this now? Okay. Okay.
Sky.
All right.
I know it's Daddy.
¿Cómo?
Okay, that's good. We'll start about now. We're just trying to see if we could get us all in so that all right.
You know this teacher.
We'll start about now. Just trying to see if we could, okay, that's sorry about that. Trying to get a feedback of what I'm doing to be sure that we are.
Okay, I wanted to Google this thing for your brother. Names and numbers.
Okay, as a protocol for our class, once I start recording, I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute everybody so that we can have a smooth flow. And in the course of the class, we will post comments, questions. But our advice: use the chats. Whether you're on YouTube or you're using Zoom, just send a chat. And after a while of teaching, I will usually check that, and based on what you said, I will now do if I will give us a feedback. So I'll start right away so that this class is supposed to be for 1 hour. So I'm going to mute everybody now. Okay, I've done that, and I will start off my recording. Okay, sorry, 1 minute. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Mamu Jarvis, and this is our grade 11 experience. And as a protocol for our class, I've always said that we don't have maths or mathematics. What we have is either arithmetic, algebra, or what? Geometry. We try to do something. We try to do something interesting today by trying to upgrade. I will start by thanking some persons who have joined, my ED, parents, and students alike who have joined us in this test transmission class. We're actually live on YouTube, and while running Zoom, we're having this class live. The essence is to see how well we have come, what are the likely challenges we're going to see, and to chart a course further in our trying to make learning real time. Today, we'll be looking at the matter of algebra. Algebra as a branch of mathematics. I'll be looking at quadratic equations. It's important to remember that every time we mention algebra, 3 key areas come to mind. We have that talks about your expressions. So I'll just write on the board, expressions. We also have something that borders around equations. And then we have your inequalities. So the whole matter of algebra would revolve around these three concepts: expressions, equations, and inequalities. Okay, now our focus today will be on equations, and not just any type of equation, but a particular type of equation we call quadratic equations. So essentially, what's a quadratic equation? An equation is said to be quadratic if we are looking for one unknown, but this unknown can have two roots. One unknown with two roots. That is a quadratic equation. And to flow well with this class, you must have gone through quadratic expressions. We know that an expression is a simple mathematical statement without an equal sign. But an equation is a simple mathematical statement that has a left and a right-hand side. So if I say, for instance, x plus 2 equal to, let's say, 5, this is an equation. But if I say x plus 2, this becomes what is called an expression. So back to our quadratic equations now. We have a general representation of any quadratic, and it's given as ax squared plus bx plus c. For an equation to be equal to 0, but for an expression, it will simply be what? Ax squared plus bx plus c. You'll notice that in this setup, a is a coefficient of x squared, b is a coefficient of x, and c is a constant. Now, what is a coefficient? A coefficient gives us the idea of how many times a number is being added. So if I say 2x squared, for instance, I would mean that I have added x squared what? Twice. So 2x squared will mean that x squared is added twice. But that's just to give us a little background on what we ought to do. So ax squared plus bx plus c is an expression, while ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0 becomes the equation, quadratic equation. So let's take a practical question and then see how this is applied. So we take any question, just any question. Let's say we have x squared plus 5x plus 6. This is a quadratic expression. So if I put equal to 0, it becomes an equation, which is the focal point of our class. Quadratic equation, x squared plus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. How do we solve this? It is important at this point to remember that for any equation, there must be what? A method. And for any quadratic equation, we have 4 known ways or methods for solving them. So let's look at them quickly. If you have crossed over from grade 9 to 10 and you're not in grade 11, it would mean that you're conversant with the first and the most important method, which is called factorization. And the next method will be what is called completing the squares. Some will just say completing the square. And the third method is actually a build-up from the second method. We call it the quadratic formula. Back in the days when we're taught this topic, our teacher will tell us that this is what they call the almighty formula. But we know that that formula is not almighty. It's not almighty at all. And the fourth method is the graphical method. Graphical method. So there are 4 ways to solve quadratic equations. We have the factorization method, we have the completing the square method, we have the quadratic formula, and we have the graphical method. So I would pause and allow you to take a little breath and then have a perspective to what we've done, because we're going to use this first method, which is something you're already conversant with, to handle this problem. And interestingly enough, I've done extensive videos on this. If you go to Mamu Wijavi's grade 9 and grade 10 playlist on my channel, I have done extensive work on how to break this up. In fact, you can actually look at it and tell what the factors are and proceed to solve. But I'll allow us pause for a while, look at that quickly, and then I'll proceed. If there are questions, let's see. You cannot have any question yet, but if there are questions, I'll be more than willing to take that. Please, all questions should be sent on the chat. Please send all questions to the chat, and then I will be more than happy to answer them. All right. Is that an approval for me to go on? Can I get a thumbs up or a yes? At least for one person, just to be sure that we're all together. All right, that's good. Okay, thank you very much. So you've just given me the nod to continue. All right. So it's as though I'm in a hurry because I have done extensive work on this before now. So do well to call my attention if there's an area you're not very okay with. All right, so I'm gonna solve this equation. Now I'm gonna solve this. I have x squared plus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. Now, students run away from factorization method, but factorization method is usually the easiest method if that expression can be factorized. So I'll just give us a few tips on how to handle this. Now look at this. At this level, I am assuming for this question that the coefficient of x squared is 1. How do I know that? If 1 multiplies anything, it keeps that thing intact. So the fact that I'm saying x squared here means that it is 1 times x squared. So we look at this, please watch carefully. We look at this and we look at this. So this is what I will call the product position. So I'll call it product of factors. And this is what I will call the sum position. So I'll call that the sum of factors. So in this branch of math or algebra, we're playing with two major concepts from arithmetic: addition and multiplication. So I'm going to think of two numbers such that if I add them, I will get 5, a positive 5. And if I multiply them, I'm going to get a positive 6. So what I would advise you to do is to look at this. Start from multiplying and come to addition. Start with what? Multiplying and then come to what? Addition. Now, look at 6. Somebody can tell me, okay, with 6, I can have what? 6 times 1. Is that not? 6 times 1 is 6. Is that not? But 6 plus 1 will not give me what? 5. So that does not help the problem. Now, if you recall your grade 7, or for some schools, primary school, you discover that you were taught something that was called factorization tree, which means that I can go back a little and say that 6 will mean what? 1 times 6. And this 6 can also be what? 2 times 3. Is that not? So these are options. So let's try if this will work. 2 times 3. Now, I pick 2, I pick 3. If I multiply them, I'm going to get 6. If I add these 2, I'll get 5. Because 2 plus 3 will give me what? 5. So with that, I've gotten 2 factors that I can add to get this. Remember, this is what I call the sum position. and this is what I call the product position. I can add 2 factors to get this, and I can multiply 2 factors, same factors to get this. Recall that the factors you must use, or the factors you would use, must be the same. So I will now rewrite this position. The reason I'm looking for factors is because I want to rewrite this position. Remember, if I give 4 things to share, it will be easy for us to have it 2-2. But if I have 3 things and I have to share it, some people will come with this mentality of I'm the elder brother, elder sister talk, but that will not help us here. So we would rather go with equality. So we will go with this x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6 equal to 0. So I'll just clean this part off so that I'll have some space there, equal to 0. Now with this, it means that I can simply break this into 2. I have one this way, I have one this way. Now I'm going to look at what is common to these 2. I'm saying x squared here. What does x squared mean? X squared means that x is multiplied 2 times. Overseas, they talk about exponential. The American curriculum talk about exponential. We will talk more about index. So x squared would mean x times x. X squared will mean what? X times x. So it means x is multiplied 2 times. So I can pick one from here, or I can rewrite this. Let's assume what I'm writing is a little cumbersome. So I can write this as x plus 2x plus what? 3x plus 6 equal to 0. So I will pick one of these x out. The picking I mean is I will factor. That's a technical way, but in the market women language will be I will pick one. And if I pick one from this, I'll just be seeing x left here, and I'll be seeing what here? 2 left there. I will treat this part now. Because this is plus, I will introduce a plus what? Here. Look at this. This is 3x. I'm not seeing any x here, so I cannot factor x. I cannot get out meat where meat was not used initially. So I'm going to pick out, if you look at this is 3, this is 6. If you recall your multiples, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is what? 6. So if I factor 3 out, I'll be left with what? X plus 3 times 2 is 6. So I put 2 there. And then I close this one out, and that will be equal to 0. What do I do next? I can see that I'm seeing x plus 2 here, and I'm seeing x plus 2 here also. Wonderful. So I can bring it out. I can factor it out. So that becomes x plus 2 into. When I take this one out, what is left? Let me clean it so you can see what's happening. If I take this one out, I'll be seeing this one left. If I take this one out, I'll be seeing this one left. So what is left is what I'm going to write here. That will be x plus 3 equal to 0. So I'll just return them back because so that my examiner would not subtract marks from me. Okay. So at this point, it means x plus 2 times x plus 3 will be equal to 0. What this means is this. It means this one is equal to 0, or this one is equal to 0. So what do? I pick this out and equate it to 0, or I can pick this one and equate it to 0. Now, we travel back to my village where we have kings and servants. 2 is a king in his village. If he crosses to your village, it becomes a servant. So that will mean that this 2 will become what? Negative. Or x, this is positive here, it crosses equality and it becomes what? Negative 3. Now, that may not be a standard way to pass this idea, but the reason we are doing this is because it's assumed that at this level, you've already understood the concept of balancing technique. So at this level, you're not tested on balancing technique. You should know how to use the balancing technique, because the only way to eliminate a positive is to add what? A negative. So if I add negative 2 here, it becomes 0. But the rule of balancing says what I do to left-hand side, I must do to right-hand side. So that's why it's just safe for us to say this moves out and it becomes negative 2. and this moves side becomes what? -3. So this is more or less like the simplest kind of problem you're going to face when it comes to factorization. So as is the practice, I'm going to pause again and allow you catch your breaths. So you're free to go through for a minute or two, and then I will continue. I'm not seeing response. Okay, I can see some response here. Let's check, and let's see if there are questions. Okay, no questions yet. It's safe to say that the students understand what we are saying. All right. Please, let's feel free to, the reason for this class is to try to break some of these things we've done in class already, but I also understand that some of us may not catch these ideas as quickly as is expected in class. So this serves as a reinforcement on what we've done already. Maybe there were things you missed out when we had this in class. This presents another opportunity for you to gain in mastery. And it's recorded. This class is recorded, so you can go back later and rewatch and ensure that the concept is well understood. All right. So I'll wait for approval from you if I can continue, or I'll allow you to digest this. So if you set for me, a thumbs up will do. Okay, I await your approval. Since I can't, I'm not seeing our faces, so I really would need the emojis now to know whether some of us are still copying or we're not seeing clearly. All right, that's good. 1, can I get up to about 4? Can I get up to about 4? It would be nice to have at least about 4 emojis before I continue. Okay, that's 2. All right, I'm just seeing 2. Okay, so I'll take a risk. I hope it's a calculated one. All right, so that's the first question under factorization. And we're going to take something a little deeper now, because what I've done so far is to bring you from your grade 9. Now let's come into grade 10 and see what this will look like. So let's take 2x squared plus 5x plus let's say 3 again, equal to 0. 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Let's see if I'm right, if I'm spot on there. Fine. Okay, I think that will suffice for what we want to do now. So 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equal to 0. So how do I handle this? First observation, you will notice that the coefficient of x squared in this setup is what? 2. But initially I told you that this is what I call the sum position and the product position. I think it was Morpheus in the matrix who said some rules can be bent, others can be broken. So we're going to bend this a little to accommodate this new difference we are having. This is the sum position, so I'll call it sum of factors. This is the product position where the coefficient of x squared is 1. So when the coefficient of x squared is not 1, the product position will now be bringing these two together. So this will now be our product position. So that's building from starting from what you were used to something a little higher now. I'll come again. This is the sum position. This is the sum position. This is the product position when the coefficient of x squared is 1. But when the coefficient of x squared is not 1, we need to make an adjustment to this. So the adjustment says that multiply the coefficient here with the term here, the last term. So if I multiply 2 with 3, I'm going to have what? 6. And the sum will be what? 5. So once we've done this, our next line of thought will be to try to get out the factors. What will be the factors we will need? What will be the factors we would need? Now, we will still go back to our factor tree. Our factor tree concept says that if 6 will be what? 1 times 6. 6 will also be equal to what? 2 times 3. Let's write everything. 6 will also be what? 3 times 2. And 6 will be equal to what? 6 times 1. But our knowledge of sets, which is that our knowledge of set tells us that we cannot use a particular item more than once. For that reason, these two cannot be used because it's the same thing. For those of us who study further maths, I can stretch a little to talk about something we call commutativity. Commutativity, that is to say, if I say 2 times 3, it's the same thing as saying what? 3 times 2. So this is the same as this, technically. So there's no point going to sort this one out because I know some students will be asking, but I have these possibilities. Anyhow you write them, you write this, it will still give you the same result. So for that reason, we'll just pick one of it. Now, we will check. 1 times 6 will give me 6. Fine, that condition is satisfied. Remember I said, start with product before you go to sum. That's the rule. Start with what? Product before you go to sum. Now, 1 times 6 will give me 6. But if I say 6 plus 1 or 1 plus 6 for consistency's sake, what does that give me? That will give me 7. 7. What I have here is 5. So it won't work. Let's try 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3 will give me what? 5. So I can use this. Because remember, the two factors I've selected must work for the sum position and the product position. The factors must work for both positions. All right? So if that is understood, my factors will be 2 and 3. So I take a step further and I will solve. This becomes what? 2x squared. And because we don't want quarrel in this kingdom, I'm going to break I've obtained plus 2x plus 3x plus 3 equal to 0. Now, I can write 3x first before writing 2x. You will not be penalized. It's the same thing. So I will look at these two now. I will introduce my dots. It's just me, so I don't forget. And just to help your mind understand what's going on, I introduce my dots. This is this kingdom. This is this kingdom. I need to get a king here. And the rule for getting the king here is such that I look at this. I can see 2 here. I can see 2 here. So obviously 2 must be a factor. I'm seeing x squared here. I'm seeing x. That means I can take x out. But remember that x squared means what? X is multiplied what? 2 times. So I pick 1 out. So that will be x. If I pick 1 out of this, now the concept of picking out in this matter of quadratic equation would mean that I am factoring out. So when I say pick 1, I mean I'm factoring out just to lighten the tone. So this will be what? X plus, if I pick 2 and x from here, I'll be left with 1. Because whenever 1 multiplies anything, it keeps it that way. Okay? Now I come to this part. I can see that both numbers are positive, so I put a plus. I can see 3 here, I can see 3 here, so I factor 3 out. If I take 3 away from here, that's to factor that, I'll be left with what? X plus. If I take 3 out of here, I'll be left with 1. Because when I take out, I'm actually dividing. All right, so that'll be equal to 0. Now, I discovered that this is common to this. So I will pick this one out. And if I pick this out, I'll still use my technique of before. So pick out means to clean off, and then I clean this one off also. What do you see? Because it's at the imagination level now. What I'm seeing clearly is that I'm left with 2x plus 3. So I will introduce my bracket just to tell my examiner that I know where I was coming from. And a little advice here. When you're solving problems in quadratic equations, especially when you're practicing, use a pencil. So you can clean, you can rewrite. That way you're causing your imagination, your brain to allow it to stick properly, right? And this will be equal to 0. So if these two things multiply to get 0, it will mean that this one will be equal to 0, or this second term, 2x plus 1 or plus 3, will be equal to 0. So let's clean this part so we can have more space to work. Now, x plus 1 equal to 0 would imply that what? X is equal to negative 1. And I've told us the idea behind this. If this man is a king in his kingdom, positive, if he goes to this kingdom, he becomes a slave, negative. All right. And then we come to this 2x plus 3 equal to 0. Same idea will apply. This will be 2x equal to negative 3 because this becomes a slave in this kingdom. Good. Now, look at this carefully. This is where a new idea is being added. Whenever you study, take on any aspect of maths or any course, try to look out for where a new idea is being added. And this is where you want to pay attention. Look at this. I have 2x equal to negative 3. But remember that my objective is to get what? X. The only way to clear 2 is to divide. So 2 is multiplying x. In this kingdom, it is causing increase. If it goes to the next kingdom, it will be causing what? Decrease. So if I go by that concept, it will mean that x will be equal to negative 3 over 2. If 2 is multiplying this way, it will what? Divide this way. But some other students might want to go the old school approach. That is 2x is equal to negative 3. I divide both sides by what? 2. But at grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, we don't expect you to overly show all of those things. No, it's not necessary anymore. We just expect you to know that if 2 is multiplying x on the left-hand side, simply speaking, it will be divided on the right-hand side. So with that thought in mind, we will then have x equal to negative 1 or negative 3 over 2. Now, in modern marking, as long as I've cited this and this, even if you don't come to tell me this, you get your full marks. So don't waste time. Once you've gotten to this point, your examiner is duty bound to give you your full marks. So once you get to this point, run. Don't waste time anymore. Move to the next problem. All right, so that's that for quadratic, for factorization. The other aspects we can consider, but I'll leave you to go to my channel to look at those aspects. Maybe I'll take one more. There's one more I think I'll take. I'll take one more before I go into testing another concept of quadratic. So I'll allow you digest this one and then we'll continue. Okay, is that a question? Is that a question? I'm seeing a hand up. Is that a question? Okay, if you have a question, just drop it as a chat and I'll look at that. If you have a question, just drop it as a chat and I will look at that. Okay, if there are no questions, let me take one more that's a little tricky. Okay, all right. Oh, so sorry. All right. Okay. Could we drop the question as a chat? Is it possible? Okay. Let's unmute and let's see. So sorry, 1 minute, please. Okay, you are acknowledged. Hello, you can unmute.
No, it's not me who has a question. I'm saying that hand has been up for a while.
Okay, that's person. Who's sharing my identity? Dr. Strange. Who's the Dr. Strange? Okay, all right, Dr. Strange, you can go. The multiverse of madness. Huh? So let's see what's going to happen to us now. Playing with time. All right, so shoot. Dr. Strange, you have the floor.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
So I have a question.
Okay, please shoot.
So please, can you explain product of factors? I'm not understanding that part.
Okay, product of factors. Okay.
Yes.
Product of factors. Okay, let's take that one more time. Okay, so let's go back. For every quadratic expression or equation, you have 3 positions. Now look at this. If I remove this, it becomes what? An expression. And for expressions, we obtain factors. Please, let's write this down. For expressions, we obtain factors. For equations, we obtain roots. So for expressions, we obtain factors. And for equations, we obtain what? Roots. This position, okay, fine. I think I get where this problem is coming from. Let's go back. Let's go back to the concept of binomial expansion. Binomial expansion. Now look at this. X plus 2 into x plus 3. Depending on the approach you want to use, there's what I call the Wakanda approach or the Starboy approach, or use what is called the binomial expansion. So let's start with something we are conversant with in grade 7, 8, before we now try a grade 9 method. Now at grade 7 or 8, you know that this x will multiply x plus 3. Is that not? We know that these 2 will multiply x plus 3. More like the content will multiply this container. So first content multiplies this container. Second content multiplies this container. So what you're going to have, please watch carefully because that's where the relevance of your question is going to. Look at it, x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus what? 6. What is happening here? You obtain this by addition. You obtain this by what? Addition. So this will be x squared plus 5x plus 6. So what you are seeing at this position is the sum of the factors. What does that mean? You discover that to obtain 3x, I have to multiply this with this, and I added it to what? This times this. So this position is the sum position. Now, to obtain this one, I had to multiply the last 2 terms. So that is a product position. So if the coefficient, now watch, okay, now this is for this one. Now let's stretch it now to a setup like this one I've just done. Let's stretch it to a setup like this I've just done. Now look at this. X plus 1 into 2x plus 3. What do you observe here? Look at this. This will be x multiplying 2x plus 3, and this is plus 1 multiplying 2x plus 3. Is that not? Watch what's going to happen. This will be 2x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 3. Watch what is happening at this point. You discover that for this particular problem, you're going to have 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Notice that the sum position in both problems did not change. But when we want to talk of the product now, you notice that we had to use this and this. If you check, that's what's happening here. So the sum position is at this point, and then the product position for a coefficient that is what? Greater than 1. That is not 1. You have to multiply this times this. So that's the whole idea of the sum and the product position. So the whole idea is gotten from our knowledge of binomial expansion. Now, remember that a binomial expansion, I now have to use the concept from Dr. Strange, you know, eating apple, full apple. So I'm going back now. I'm taking you from where I'm going, where I'm supposed to be, and I'm bringing you back to the apple being eaten. If you watch carefully, this expression here is called a binomial. Why? Because we have two terms connected by an addition or a subtraction. This is one binomial, this another binomial. And something I didn't talk about when I was teaching the topic, because I had assumed that to come to grade 11, there are certain things you should have known, is that when you multiply two binomials, you obtain a quadratic. So you may want to note that down. The multiplication of two binomials will give you what? A quadratic. So I don't know if I've answered your question. I don't know if I've answered your question, but this is how we obtain the sum, or we determine the sum and the product position. Because these two positions are important for you to obtain either your factors or your roots of the equation, as the case may be. All right, so do I have a note to continue? Because I will just take one more question that would introduce another idea, and then we can call it a day. Dr. Strange, over to you. The Kang dynasty. Okay. Can I go on? All right. Okay. So I'll take that as a yes. Right. Okay. So now let's take one more. One that's a little let's see. I want to see if I can pick one from. I'll pick one from my text here. This one might be a little upgraded, but let's see how it goes. I'm going to take one. 21v equal to 8v squared minus 9. Somebody is saying, it's a very simple problem. It's a very simple problem. Very, very simple problem. Now, how do you solve this? So let me give you a minute or two to process what's happening. 21v equal to 8v squared minus 9. Okay, so let's go. Remember that the objective is to try to mirror the equation to look like this. So every quadratic will start with the highest power of the unknown, then the next power, the unknown to power 1, and then the constant. So I would have 8v squared minus 9 equal to 21v. That's the first thing I need to do. We call that technique rewriting, to rewrite. I want to keep what I'm looking for on my left-hand side. So we call that technique rewriting. So if that is done, The next thing you want to do is to bring this man, because remember that the equation must be equal to 0. Must be equal to 0. So by solving this, just keep this at the corner and be looking at this and see how you can make this one to resemble this. You discover that this value now is at the second position on the left-hand side. So this is the next position I will need to get. So this is a king because it's positive. And if it goes to my left, it becomes a slave. So this will be 8v squared minus 21v minus 9 equal to 0. Now, notice that all the ones we've solved before now, they were always what? Positives, are not? But now you're saying negative. You're seeing negative here, you're seeing negative here. And for some students, by the appearance of negative, they're almost running away. But no problem. Let's see. Calm down, calm down. Look beyond the negative. Now, we apply our concepts. The sum of factor will simply be negative 21. That's this position. It does not change. But our product of factor will be what? Because the coefficient of v squared is not 1, I'll have to multiply this times this. So 8 times negative 9 will give me negative 72. But I don't advise students, don't write negative 72. Instead, write negative, bracket open, 8 times 9. Write it this way. Your objective anytime you solve a problem is to simplify it, not to cause more problem or problems. So write it as 8 times 9. Keep it that way. So by the time we use our tree diagram, we'll be able to simplify that out. So we have negative 21 here. We have what? Negative 8 times 9. You can even do this. You can allow the negative 9 to carry just as it is here. Remember that it's everything here. And then times what? 8. So with that said, we are done with this one. We are done with this part. All right. Now, the next thing is to try to determine what the factors will be. What will the factors be? Remember that we said that the factors will be, start with the multiplication first. It is negative. Means that, look at this. Let's recall previous knowledge. Plus times plus is plus. Negative times positive is what? Negative. Positive times negative is what? Negative. And negative times negative is what? Positive. So if you are having negative as your product, it will only mean that one of the factors I'm looking for will be negative and the other one will be what? Positive. The other approach to solve this, but I prefer this approach. There are different methods. Students use different things different ways to solve this, but I prefer this approach. Now, look at 9 times 8. Forget about, at this point in time, forget about the negative. Imagine you're not seeing the negative. Now pick this 9 times 8. How would you recombine 9 times 8 such that you're going to get one negative factor and one positive factor that will give you a negative sum? If I'm owing somebody money and I don't have enough money to pay, it means I'm still owing. Is that not? That's what's happening here. If the sum of factors is negative, it means that whatever arrangement I'm going to take, I'm still going to have a negative. It's important for you to see that I'll still be owing. So I'll come here and I'm going to arrange this now. Look at 9. Look at 8. How am I going to arrange this? That's one aspect of it. Now look at this again. This number I'm having here is what? An odd number. That's why when I started this class, I said that I have about 9 part videos on this concept. So much later, you go to the grade 9, go to grade 10, you look for quadratic expression. I did a very detailed work on this. So if you find some of the ideas I'm passing a little difficult, go back to those videos and watch, and you'll find out that these things are very simple. Now, I'll try to be a little fast now. I'm saying 21 here. What is 21? 21 is an odd number. So what that means is that however I'm going to combine this, it must be such that I have odd and even. If I add up two odd numbers, I will get odd. If I add up, if I add up two odd numbers, sorry about that, I will get even. 3 plus 3 will give me 6. If I add up odd plus even, I'm going to get what? Odd. If I add up even plus odd, I'm going to get what? Odd. If I add up even plus even, I'm going to get what? Even. So you discover that the only way I'm going to get odd is to put even plus odd. So that makes my life very easy. What I'm simply going to do first of all is this. I will break this 9 into 2. So I'm going to have 3 times 3 times 8. Let's multiply these 2. And what do I have? This will be 24, and this will be what? 3. Remember that what I have here is negative. So it means that my 24 must be negative, and my 3 will be what? Positive. If this were positive, if this 21 were positive, it will mean that my 24 is positive, and my 3 will be what? Negative. Remember I said something. If you are owing and you don't have enough money to pay, you are still owing. If you have enough money and you go to a supermarket to buy something, you will pay without being embarrassed. You get that? So that's the setup. In a real life environment, this is what's actually happening here. To get negative 21, I need to consider 24 as what? A negative. So if that is understood, I will then come here and insert a negative here, put 24 here, and then put what? 3 here. Negative 24 plus 3 will give me what? Negative 21. So I'll carry this. Remember that the reason for doing this is that I want to break this part into 2 items. So with that achieved, our 8v squared minus 24, 24v plus 3v minus 9 equal to 0. Now, there's something I want you to observe here. Whenever I arrange factors here, I always advise students, if you arrange factors and one is negative and the other is positive, I advise you, write the negative before the positive. Where it is avoidable, avoid it. So when you have a negative factor and a positive factor, write the negative first. So if you've done that, we will now introduce my dots or our dots. Look at these 2. What is common? I can see 8. 8 times 1, 8. 8 times 2, 16. 8 times 3, 24. Beautiful. I can still see V. So I'll bring out 8. I'll bring out V. And then I'll be left with what? V minus what? 3. I look at these 2 items. I'm seeing 3. Once I see 3, the next thing I should do is to try to read my 3 times. 3 times 1, 3. 3 times 2, 6. 3 times 3, 9. Wow, 9. Okay, so plus, because this is plus, I introduce a plus there. Plus what? 3, 8 to what? V minus 3. Remember that there's only V here. There's no V here. So I can't take V from where it does not exist. Equal to 0. All right, so with that, I can now, I'm saying this as common. So I pick it out, V minus 3, 8 to what? 8V minus 3. 8V plus 3. Remember what we did? I cover this and I cover this. What am I seeing left? I'm seeing 8V, I'm seeing 3. So that's what I'm going to write out. Equal to 0. What's the next thing? V minus 3 is equal to 0, or 8V plus 3 is equal to what? 0. What do I do next? This is a slave. It must become a king. This is a king. He must become a slave. 8 is multiplying V, so it will obviously be dividing. It will obviously be dividing on my right-hand side. And so we are done with that. So with what we've done, it can't go worse than this. It can't go worse than this. All right. So I will pause and I'm going to open up everything now. So I'm going to open up everything now and have a last comments. And if there are areas that we need to, where are you? All right, okay, so trying to unmute us now. So if there are last minute questions, you can ask. So we're unmuting so that if you have a question, you could just raise your hand up and I'll mute you and then I'll get 1 or 2 comments and reaction based on our class. So the floor is open for questions. WAEC, all right. Okay, WAEC.
Sir, sir,
yeah.
Is there any form of assignment or activity in this class?
Okay, very nice one. You remember that we have the grade 11 WhatsApp platform, which has been created for you. So I would send the assignment there for you to look at it. Essentially, we've done this in class, but I just wanted to ensure that you understand the concept better. So that will be, you will get your assignment on the grade 11 platform. So for those of us who may be observers, there will not be any assignment for you. I don't know that that answers your question. All right. Okay, somebody else, who else is asking a question? Okay, just who else? So any other question? Maybe a question or 2, and then we can call it a day. Like I told us, essentially I was trying to test the transmission. So I'm going to go through I'm going to go through everything we've done today. I've seen the feedback. I've noted some of the improvements we need to make. And then from tomorrow, we're now going to take on the real matter in hand. So tomorrow will be a new topic. It's going to be your week 5 and week 6 topics, hopefully. And we'll trust that after that, not only students of ABEC benefit from this, students who have joined us can also benefit from this. So any other question? Any other question? The class is very silent. What's happening? You will submit your notes. Maybe I will insist you snap your notes and send to me. Let me be sure you were copying. All right. If there are no questions, okay, let's see. Okay, Chisom. Okay, Chisom has something to say. All right, Chisom and Dr. Strange again. All right, Chisom, you have the floor. Yes.
I can't find my notes.
I can hear you very well.
I can't find my notes.
You can't find your notes. Wonderful. What happened to it? Okay, Dr. Strange again. Okay, Dr. Strange, what's your question?
Sir.
Dr. Strange, 1 minute. No, that is not an issue. You can always copy what we've done. What's important for me is the knowledge. And when you find your notes, you can now you can put everything back in order. All right. Okay, Dr. Strange.
Sir, I'd like to say that this algebraic fraction, the terms that we're using, they're very, very amazing. I really enjoyed it. The class was boring, and I really loved it, sir. It was filled to my expectations. I couldn't expect more. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Learning is an evolving thing. There's no, I always tell us that the way I'm teaching you now will not be the same way I will teach another set. By then, I would have gotten another idea. It's on record. I've never taught any two sets the same thing. I've never done it. So I'll keep trying. I'll see how I can get things done better.
Okay, sir.
The question that, sorry? Okay, I think Jeremy. Okay, let's take Jeremy next before we take Michael. Yes, your question.
Sir, please, my question is that the assignments, are you doing it in our notebook?
They are so particular. Yes, you're so particular about this assignment, but you know that that's not my pattern. I'll give you assignments, but more important is this. I want to be sure that knowledge has been passed, and you can see this question. However, it is being twisted and you can answer. So let's not overly focus on the assignment. Let's focus on the knowledge. I hope you were taking notes down, because I'm going to give you questions to work on, and I will trust that you'll be able to cope with them. So let's not overly worry about the assignments. Okay, next person. Wow, there's so many. Mike. This should be Michael. Is that Ubong? Am I right?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, Ubong, how are you?
Fine, sir, thank you. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ubong. How are you?
So my question is,
okay.
Fine, sir. So my question is, I'm writing mine on a jotter. Like, are you going to mark it when we get back to school?
When we get to school, I will definitely look at what you have done. But I will still reiterate this. The objective, first of all, is the knowledge. Is the knowledge. If I give you a question, would you be able to solve it? So that's what we should focus on.
Yes, sir, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Now the hands are coming up. Okay, Anonymous. Anonymous. Your question. Okay, I think Anonymous is not saying anything. Okay, one final question. So who would it be now? Let me pick one person. Final question. Let's see what Whiskey has to say. Whiskey, what's your question?
Sir.
Okay.
Since we are doing this Zoom meeting stuff, what about those that don't have like data or internet to come, like those that don't have data or any form of internet connection?
There's no problem.
And he said that like he are going to like not going to teach this topic again when we get back to school. So how those people now going to come across this knowledge impacting on our lives?
No. You observe that this class is recorded, is that not?
Yes, sir.
So it's recorded. So what it means is that no knowledge is lost. If you watch what I've tried to do, I try to record those aspects of our discussion that are relevant. And after that, I will post to my channel. And once you get to school, that's why we have access to internet. You can always watch. You can rewatch. So that will not be an issue at all.
Yes, sir. I get it, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, so we will call it a day, and I think I have to release us now because some of us are already talking about data. So let me release you now, and I will trust that we'll continue tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Some of us came in very late, and then some of us don't even realize that our ED director is in this class, and some of us have exposed ourselves very well today. No problem. So tomorrow, expose yourself again. All right, I'll leave it for now. Thank you for joining. I want to say a big thank you to all our parents in the house. Thank you for this sacrifice. May God continue to reward your efforts in Jesus' name. And we also want to thank some of our teachers, some of our management staff who are on this platform monitoring what we're doing. Thank you very much. You've taken out your precious time to see what we're doing. Thank you very much. And we're trusting that at the end of the day, these experiences we're having will not be wasted. All right, so thank you very much. You can go to your grade 11 platforms, drop your comments there, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. No problem. We continue tomorrow. We're doing tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So there's no problem.